Well, it might be Easter Sunday and pretty much everywhere's closed today, but the garden's always open. So we're going to spend today sowing loads more seeds because we want to maximise the produce from that container garden this year. And I've still got quite a few of these left, little caravan wash bowls, a nice bit of depth to them, and we just needed to drill a few holes in bottom. And I'm going to sow a lot of things in these containers today. What I want to do is put together quite a big collection of containers like this with all different types of salad. Obviously they're going to be things like salad leaf, which is cut and come again salad, but we could do a couple of little romaine ones in something like that as well. And then of course we need to re-sow spring onions. We've got a couple of containers that we keep harvesting, but they're not going to last forever. So just to ensure that we get some all the way through season, we have to sow fresh pots. So I spent this morning sorting through all my seeds and picking out loads of different things that I want to get sown today. But before I do anything, I've got to sieve some soil first, because some of these things that we're going to be planting prefer a really nice fine compost, not compost with lots of lumps in them, because we're going to be doing some carrots as well. And I've got a different variety of carrot that we're going to try this year, which I think will probably be suited to containers like this. And as I'm sieving this compost, what I'll do is I'll put that waste at the bottom of one of these that we're going to be using. We're only going to put about an inch in the bottom of these. We don't want to use too much of that space up. But that lumpier stuff on bottom is going to help with better drainage as well. We don't need to put any feed in these containers either, because this is that grow show compost and it already contains up to 4 months worth of feed. So that saves us a bit of money as well. And I think what we'll do first is some more spinach, because that tends to go to seed really quickly as it gets warmer. So the more we've got on go, the more chance we've got of harvesting some. So we'll just multi-sow quite a lot of seeds in this container to start with, and hopefully we can get some nice big bunches growing. And this one's called Matador. So that's my first one done, and because we've sieved this compost, I can just sprinkle some over the top now. Just enough to cover them seeds. And you might have noticed that the nights are getting warmer now, so we're going to get germination much faster. And these will all happily germinate inside this greenhouse. A quick water, a label in it, and that's his first one done. And because we're using such small containers, I'm multi-sowing to get big bunches of produce. Something like this you could easily just pop on your kitchen window, and then you can pick the leaves from indoors when you want to. I've got loads more of them into the shed, but those still need holes drilling in bottom. So I'll go and get that done, then we'll bring them back and we'll soak rest at seeds. Well, that didn't take long, and now we've got loads of these containers, all with those good sized drainage holes that we've put in bottom. So today we can sow enough seeds to fill all of these, and that'll be about 15 containers of different varieties of vegetable. Plus they're all different colours as well, so that's going to brighten up that container garden at the same time. I'm filling these up and I'm leaving it really loose. I'm just banging it down to settle it, and that's about as much as I want to do with that, because in these two containers I'm going to sow some carrots. But obviously I'm not going to sow the regular carrots that grow quite a long taproot, because I've got a couple of different varieties. One's called Chantenay Royals, and they grow 3 to 4 inches long, and they're quite stubby little fat carrots. And then we've got a new one this year called Little Finger, so that grows to about the thickness of your little finger, and I don't think they grow too long either. So a couple of different types of carrots in these next two containers. And carrots don't like growing in hard soil, otherwise they bend and fork. They also don't like having lots of fertiliser given to them, because that also causes them to fork. So since this already contains some feed, that's probably all they'll get through the entire season. And of course, because they're in containers, we can keep them raised up. Anything above 60 centimetres off the ground is too high for a carrot root fly to get to your carrots. So that's why when we do them in containers, we pop them outside on benches, because then we don't have to worry about that pest at least through here. So I'll start off with that little finger. And I'm trying to space these out as best I can. But because they only grow quite narrow, we should be able to harvest these as multi-sown carrots. We aren't in need for thinning them out. At least that's the idea. And that'll do. And we'll see how they get on. But because carrot seeds are so tiny, I'm going to cover them with colander. Because we want these to break the surface of that compost as soon as possible. If they're in this damp compost for too long, they could start to rot. So the lightest covering possible is what we're giving them. Just enough to see all those seeds disappear, which is what we do on a lot of things, including lettuces. And that's why I need to make sure we put labels in every one. With us using different varieties. Exactly the same for that second container. We'll just fill it and just bang it down. Then we'll put some of these Chantenay Royal ones on. I'm not going to put as many seeds on this one because these are a bit thicker carrot. But just enough to make sure we get some good germination. And we will have to thin this one if we want to get carrots of any decent thickness. And again, that light covering. So that's as 2 varieties of carrots done. The great thing about doing it this way is you can get a lot of different varieties in a very small area. Because once these have grown to an harvestable size, most of them we're going to be able to take harvest and let them grow on again and then repeat that process. So once all of these have grown, you can basically just go around and take a little bit of each container and create yourself that pick and mix salad bowl. And apart from not taking up much space, it's also using quite a small amount of compost. So we'll fill a couple more now. Now I'm just firming these ones down a little bit, not too much. My salad is definitely never complete. We add some spring onions. So that's what we're going to be doing in these 2 containers. And I tend to harvest spring onions just for the green tops. But you could still grow them in a container that size and wait until you've got bulbs as well. And just pull them out as you need them. So once again, overseeding these containers because we want as many growing together as we possibly can. And that's one of them packs that we got from Co-op for about 25p because they're an offer. And I've put the whole pack on there, so we're guaranteed a nice big bunch of green onion tops. And then exactly the same with the other one. That'll give us lots of onion tops to harvest once they've grown. And obviously, once you've cut them off, if you leave them, they grow back again as well. So you get 3 or 4 cuttings out of one of these before it's finished. By which time, we'll have sown a couple more anyway. So we'll never run out of these either. And they're called White Lisbon. And both of these are also getting that very light covering. That's 2 more done. Just creating a nice level bed. And for this one, we're doing some salad leaf. And it's this one. And that's called French salad leaf mixed. So we definitely want some of those. Make sure we get plenty of seeds on here. Because obviously this is again going to be one of those cut and come again salad bowls. So the more seeds we get to germinate, the longer it's going to last. 2 more for collection. And if you're going to be growing different types of salad leaf, then you might as well have some beetroot leaves on. Because they're full of nutrition. And exactly the same way as we did with that salad container, we basically overseed. Beetroot seeds are slightly different to regular seeds. They're a cluster, basically. And because of that, one beetroot seed can germinate into more than one plant. So hopefully, because we've overseeded this area, we're going to get a big mass of beetroot leaves to harvest. And because they're quite big seeds, we can just lightly cover it by hand. If you're doing a lot of containers like this in your greenhouse and leaving them outside, it might be a good idea to cover these containers up. Otherwise you're going to have mice coming in through night, digging up all your seeds and eating them. So that's 8 we've done so far, but we're still going to do more. So this next one that we're doing is another new variety for this year. And again, it's a leaf lettuce, but it's red, and it's called Apache. So once again, just overseeding this container to get as much growing in this small area as we possibly can. So that's a nice bit of colour to add to your salad. So by the time you've gone round all these containers through summer and picked yourself little bits of everything that we're growing today, you're going to end up with an amazing looking salad. And knowing at all time it's all fresh, homegrown stuff. It might be worth mentioning that if you're using containers like this, maybe you'll drop across some on your local car boot through summer. Make sure that they are food safe. It'll tell you on bottom if they are. Because if you're growing food in it, you don't want any toxins leaking out of this plastic and then being absorbed by food that you're going to eat later. Just a thought. These are food safe. We'll add a bit of spice to this next one. We'll sow some mustard. Again, a nice amount of seeds on there. Quite big seeds, mustard as well. So, as before, a light covering by hand. But that's going to add a little bit of extra flavour. We'll do something a little bit different now. And this container I'm only half filling, because what we're putting in here won't be in here that long anyway, because we're going to grow some pea shoots. Normally I'd soak peas to rehydrate them overnight, but I haven't done it with these. But as long as we make sure that this container is really well watered, they'll germinate just as well. And once again, it's overseeding. You can harvest these pea shoots when they come ready, when they're a few inches tall. And when you harvest these pea shoots, if you leave the plant and don't cut away the entire thing, those pea shoots will grow back again. And you can see we've put quite a lot of peas on there. And of course, peas are very big. So you can just give them a quick covering by hand again. Also, when you're growing pea shoots like this, it's basically a microgreen. So you don't really have to cover them up if you don't want. What you could do is put some compost in the same size bowl and just set it on top of your peas like that, with your peas just sat on the surface of that compost. And make sure they're really well watered, or ideally, if you do it that way, soak the peas overnight first. And then when these peas germinate, what they'll do is they'll push up this container. Even if it's half full of compost, they'll still start to lift it up. And at the same time, they're not getting any light, so they're stretching to get light. So you'd let them grow right to the top of here, and then you take this away, and all your plants will be yellow. But they'll also be quite long, and because of that weight on top, they'll also be nice and straight. And then a couple of days later, all those pea shoots will turn bright green because they're getting light once again. And then you just cut the tops off. That's the way that you grow microgreens, and you can do that as well with pretty much any vegetable seed. And we have covered that in previous videos, but we might revisit that again sometime in early summer. But that's as peas done for shoots. And for this last container, for the moment anyway, I'm going to pop in some of these onion sets. We've already had these growing in trays in compost just to start and get them rooted, but now they need moving on. So we've planted 2 beds full of these outside already, and these are what were left. So I'll just pick out the best ones for what's left, and we'll pop those in this little container and see how big onions we can get from it. I'm trying to pick all the ones with more or less the same size stalks as well, so they all grow at the same time. And I'm going to stick quite a few in as well, just keeping them all away from edge while I do it. And we know how to sow onions. You just push them in, leave the top sticking out. And I just want to see if we can get this entire container to have onions side by side all around. And if they make small onions, for the compost that's gone into this and the size of the container, it's still worth doing. Especially when we've got quite a few left. One of the easiest gardening jobs you'll ever do in your life is planting onion sets. So quick and easy, and now we've got a little onion planter as well, and we'll see how they get on. Obviously they need a long growing season. I think for an Easter Sunday we've got quite a lot done, and that container garden is soon going to be full to the brim of fresh homegrown vegetables. But since sun's coming out now and it's getting a bit warmer in this greenhouse, I think I'll have an Easter Sunday afternoon drink. If you're interested in seeing how these containers get on and what else we're going to be sowing over the next few weeks, please hit that subscribe button and press that notifications bell. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Enjoy your bank holiday.